This is Zettelcast, brought to you by readers, writers, thinkers, and teachers from LilyPub, along with our partners in thought, our Zettelcastans. In this show, we share discoveries that our Zettelcastans have shown us.
There you go.
And compare notes on how we're using this marvelous invention in our creative work. Thank you for joining us.
All right, Brooke, do it again.
All right.
Episode 8, talking about who we are.
All right, so here we go, right? So there were two questions. What do we want to readers to get from our story? That was question one. And question two is, what do we hope to gain from publishing it? So my first thought about it was, in order to answer this question, we need to know the main theme and the message that the story is going to convey, right? So what is the main theme? Hola? Hello?
We all have
ideas,
ideas, I'm sure.
Yeah, we all have ideas, and I think it can sort of develop as we go, from each of our own individual ideas of how we want it. And, it'll work together and we'll bounce ideas off of each other, and it'll become a unified thing as we work through it. That's how I think it'll work.
Well, me too. And the reason I asked this question this way today was to get things being piled into the stack.
Yeah.
So have at it, y'all.
Well, I think it's not unusual for something like an overarching theme to develop in the writing, and often the writer doesn't know the theme and doesn't always even understand entirely how the characters are going to participate in it until they get towards the end. And then they look back retrospectively and go, oh, it's about, intergenerational relationships and the sustainability of family history or whatever, But I think that's something that will reveal itself as we go through the writing process. I don't know that, because this is a collective, I don't know that that's something we can really know to navigate by this early in the process.
I get that. I guess what I was looking for is, again, the darts that go.
Mm-hmm.
I've got some darts, Deb.
I've got some darts too.
Yeah, I've got some darts too.
Yeah, we've got darts.
Provisional.
We have darts.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll just go ahead and start here then. At least with the first, maybe we could all do the first question and then move on to the second. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do I want readers to get from the Roanoke project? I think a huge thing would be inspiration for how a Zettelcast could work. And, with the five of us all having our own view on how things can work and coming up with these ideas, they're going to see at least 5 different variations of how Zettelcast can work. And so that just shows it in real world, the fantasy world, whatever. And so I think that's a huge thing that excites me. I am also excited to explore the concept of pattern languages, which we have talked about a bit, and how, there's a conflict between trying to design something from the top down or manufacture it, and how it will develop when it, grows or evolves naturally. And, there can be some conflict there. There can be some mismatch. There can be, a dynamic connection where, both ends of it make the other one better. So that's really exciting to me. And I think that people will our audience would enjoy that. And the other big sort of conflict or potential conflict that I see is since we have this idea of this language or communication mind to mind, then that immediately sets up a conflict between the unity and the individual. And, you know, we've got a whole planet to play with. So we got different cultures. They can all, you know, different places in the planet can deal with it in different ways and develop different, you know, cultural attitudes and whatever about it. So, you know, I'm sure that we'll have our own characters as we come up with our own ideas of how our part of the world works. Well, then our characters are going to interact, and then they're going to have to deal with each other and these different attitudes and ideas of how to even, you know, handle this amazing ability. So those are just a few of the things that are very exciting to me, and I think will be very exciting to our audience as we explore them.
Lovely darts. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. All right. So I don't know how the round table, you know, round robin. Who's next? Who wants to volunteer? Okay, I will do.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead, Kathleen,
No.
please.
If you're okay, I broke the question down into the first question. I broke it into two groups, actually. I think I have a difference in what I want our fans to get out of the Roanoke project as a project compared to what I hope our readers will get out of the finished product that the project produces. And what I hope our fans will get out of it will be a concrete example of the idea of creating a story. How does a story get created? And because we have to talk amongst ourselves in the process of creating it, because we're not doing it solo, those aspects get laid out on the table in front of everyone. So they can say, this is where a story comes from. So they are debating between themselves, and I have to debate between the voices in my own mind. But that's the process. That's where story evolves. So that's the part of the goal there. And then for the readers, what I'm hoping that the readers will catch on to is the amazing power that keeping a Zettelcast can place into your hands. They will see us drawing cards, drawing inspiration, drawing things out of our Zettelcast that help us create our story. They will see us taking ideas from Julianne's Zettelcast and Mel's Zettelcast and your Zettelcast and Victoria's Zettelcast and mine, and putting them all together, and whoosh, something far greater appears, and they'll understand that a Zettelcast can bring all of those different kinds of ideas together. And then, of course, we have the whole magical element of it, which I imagine that Julianne will cover. So I didn't cover that aspect of it. That's as far as I went.
Beautiful. Those are lovely darts as well. Those are great. Those are great. Okay. All right. So for me, I kept going back to that idea of the Zettelcast and showing us as Zettelcast and builders our purpose. You know, that idea of finding out who it is we were put here to be and to do and to contribute. And so if this beginning story, this first story could open up the curtains for readers to get an idea that, oh wow, this could happen to me. I could do this too. Then that would be a wonderful gift, if you will, you know. And then there's the idea of just organizing your life, you know, in terms of the Zettelcasting. The people box, for example, is a wonderful addition to the overall scheme, right? Where you keep your family, you keep your friends, you keep your authors, you keep all of these entities that you interact with right there at your fingertips. And so you can't forget, birthday. Oh no, I didn't forget your birthday. Da, 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 you know? So it's really good. And then oh yeah. 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 That's yes. And you add to that this woman, Mel Robbins, talks about the 5-second rule. And the idea is that you can motivate yourself, you put your agenda there, and then the thing that gets you out of bed, you get that first thought, and then you go 5, 4, and you go and you do. And it's all right there recorded in your Zettelcast. So when you have a chance to look back and meld all your activities, it's wonderful. So if we can get readers to get the idea that they can participate in this, that they can have this for themselves, what greater quest could we hope for ourselves? That's where I'm at. Okay.
I totally agree. I think using this project to show all of the possibilities, that's what's most exciting for me is, you can use it for nonfiction, for fiction, for facts of life, for music, literally so many different aspects that we can share just because of the differences between the 5 of us. I think that is just incredibly exciting.
And the fact that we're doing it in public and we don't know.
Yeah.
How do you do watercolor painting, Mel? And connect that? Is there a way for your Zettelcast to inform your watercolor painting? I don't know.
Wow. I mean, that is a good question. I do use my Zettelkasten for keeping a record of some of my paintings, in that, like, I make a little colorway of, like, usually I like to work with a limited palette sometimes. So, I just have maybe 3 of the main colors and then mix them and see how that looks. And that's what I use for the whole painting. So, actually I can pull one right out. I've got one that I had done, and you can see I've got some crossed out because I tried them and I went, oh, I don't like that one. But so I've got some of those just right in my box. But also, I think I explore a lot of the same themes in my paintings as I do in my writing. The contrast between, like, flow and stability, and light and dark, and because painting, it's contrast is a big part of it, to make it dynamic and interesting. So yeah, I mean, I'll have to think more about how that would fit in directly, but that's what came to mind.
Yeah. Wow. So I'll add my darts. Well, first of all, I want this book to be fun to read. I want it to be fun and funny, even though there are going to be serious themes in it. Because this is the same territory that stories, can get very dystopian.
Oh, okay.
And it's playing with, the same sort of area as, like, The Matrix does, right? Which is kind of dystopian, right? Or Brazil, lots of things where interconnection can go wildly off track.
Yeah.
And I think that this can go wildly off track, but it can be funny. So that's one thing I really hope that we're able to do. And the more that little story ideas keep coming to me, and many of them are spoilers, and I've started to share them with you all, which we're not going to be talking about here. But it's just the theme that is emerging for me is it's about understanding and misunderstanding. And when you're really sure, and it turns out, nuh-uh. Lots of opportunities for twist and the intergenerational aspect of it is going to be super fun to play with too, because just how long ago did Grandpa live anyway, and how are they even? Who knows? If he lived 1,000 years ago, who could we talk to from 1,000 years ago and possibly communicate with? But maybe this society has developed a way to kind of refresh its ability to stay connected. Don't know, but that seems like a fun. And also it's just so many opportunities to still misunderstand. So I think that's really fun. You've all said so many of the things that I think about. And yeah, the Zettelkasten it's the Zettelkastens that the ancestors have created to be discovered, and that the current day people are going to be creating, I think, and they're going to be taking their false steps, and they'll need to create their minimalist Zettelkasten and not get confused and all that. There'll be all sorts of opportunities to feature that technology, right? But I think it would be beautiful if we are able to help it gain life as more than just a fad. Right now it's a fad. But we believe it could be so much more than a fad. And hopefully the characters that we create can be ambassadors for that. It helps us scale out a little bit. One thing that I wanted, besides our own diversity amongst ourselves, right? It occurred to me yesterday as I was answering this question, it's like, I'm not going to forget Tom Cobb. Tom Cobb is very generously trying to meld his digital way of doing a Zettelkasten with the analog principles. And I wrote in my personal reflection on this particular card, we don't have to grind Scott Shepherd's axe on that.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
I don't know how to make it work, but surely there's a way to make it work. And I feel like it'll be fun to try to imagine somebody, at least one person, that the Tom Cobb readers are going to be able to relate to and say, yeah, but there's a benefit to having things be digital. So anyway,
Yeah.
I think that'll be fun. Yeah. I guess the other thing that I want to say, and again, it's about the Zettelkasten, is just showing the relationships between a Zettelkasten and a human.
Wow.
And there'll be different kinds of relationships based on, who those people are and what they're working on.
Yeah, one of my
I'm so glad that you said that. Oh, go ahead.
one of my other generated questions was, how do we enhance or boost reader engagement? So how do we stimulate discussion, among the readers in terms of things that we produced? I put it in here someplace. Me and paper. Oh. Okay, so We can foster deeper reader engagement by encouraging them to discuss their interpretations of key themes and character motivations, and how the story resonates with their personal experiences. And I had something else, right? The impact of our collaborative writing approach to writing a narrative in general.
Mhm.
And any surprising thought-provoking elements they encountered in the course of reading, and how the story compares with other stories. Those are the
Yeah,
5 things I came up with reference to that.
excellent.
I think it's the Roanoke book group over in Lillypub.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
Give them a room and
Yeah.
invite everybody in.
Well, there actually is a Roanoke community over in Lillypub.
Oh,
And
right.
so we have it, and you can join it
Yeah.
right now and actually be a
Mhm.
part of that discussion, which is actively taking place as we speak.
Come on in.
Yeah.
The door's
come on
open.
in. I mean, this is leaping way past where we are, but if this world is interesting enough, there are other stories to tell.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'd love other people in Lillypub to tell them.
Maybe one of our goals should be to produce a story Bible, a world Bible, when we're done, so that contributors who want to add a volume or a backstory that takes place either when the ancestors were still living or someplace in the current world of discovery, just something that plunks down into that world, would have a layout that would be sufficiently consistent so that people could be not so jarred going from one contributor story to another's.
Yes.
Wow, a never-ending story, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And letting more people try their hand at writing. Of course, we're not about that, are we, Victoria?
Not at all. No, and actually that's something that will organically be created as we move along, because we're each gathering the pieces that we're going to contribute to the world. So those things will naturally be kind of segmented into, environment and setting and character backstory. I think that will evolve because it will have to in order for us to write the story. So we just will. I'll have to think about how to do that, but yeah, we'll want to keep track of those key world elements as we go so that there's continuity, because I can't be writing off in my own little world and not thinking about your boxes around the circle. We have to make sure that we stay grounded in the facts that we've agreed on. So yeah, a story Bible will definitely contribute to that.
Yeah, you can't make the pathway a cement slab.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I just got a book. Orson Scott Card is one of my favorite
Oh,
authors. Yeah. And way back in 1990, he wrote a book on writing fantasy and science fiction and fantasy.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah. The mice method. Yeah.
I'm sorry?
The mice method, which I don't
Yes.
like, by the way, but yeah. Yeah.
But one of the
I shouldn't
things
say I don't like it. I think it's really broad. It's hard for newer writers to grasp onto. When you say you need to think about milieu, they're like, what'd you call me? It's not a good fit for writers now. I think writers then, it was a very good fit because people had a different education. But yeah, anyway, sorry, go ahead.
No,
That's
well,
funny.
in the first chapter or first 2 chapters somewhere, he said, you gotta, if you're doing fantasy can be anything at all, right? And because of that, there's no tension, it's boring, because So you have to have rules. The world
Yeah.
that you build has to have rules, and you have to present those rules early on, and you have to stick with those rules throughout. And I because I'm looking at this and I'm saying 1990. Wow, I wish I had looked at that before I bought this book. Well, let me see. I don't know. Orson Scott Card is so let me just forgive him and forgive me for that, and just get into it and see what I can find. And that was one of the first things that popped out.
Yeah.
So I said,
Yeah.
oh, okay. And reading that book also made me go and do some research to find out what's popular, what's most popular, science fiction, fantasy, or the hybrid. And it turns out my research, it's fantasy is the most popular. And it's growing fastest with the young adults.
Yeah. Yep.
Who knew? I mean, I didn't, I'm thinking, okay, good, because those are the children of the comers. They're the ones who are going to take the world to the next place. So they're going to be reading this. Couldn't be happier. That's great.
Right.
Yeah.
In terms of the science part of this, the science fiction aspect of this hybrid story, I want to have a super light touch with it because I'm no scientist. I don't want to get, but I'm not going to be giving Isaac Asimov a run for his money. But I want to have enough stuff that it's plausible, and we're on to, what happens with people.
Yeah, one of the things that he said about that very thing, the difference between science fiction and fantasy, was basically in science fiction you push a button, and in fantasy it's magic. So,
Well, I think the cool thing now is, we have such a rich inheritance of the generation of writers that came after him. So a lot of that gap has been bridged. It just all falls under the umbrella of speculative fiction.
yes.
And that can be anywhere on the continuum. And the cool thing is we get to decide. And I think you're exactly right. As long as we know what the rules are and our reader is firmly grounded in what is and is not possible so that they know that they can trust us as the narrator, I think we're good. And then at the end, that's the purpose of a good continuity edit, or a developmental edit, sometimes it's called, is you go through and you look for, okay, hold on. In chapter 2 or section 2 or however we label them, you said that X is the law and has to stay the law. But then in chapter 46, it's like you don't even remember that existed. So, a lot of that comes out in post, and you just true it up if you've gone off the rails, which we will, but that's okay.
Our fans over in Roanoke can peg us on that, because they will pick it up the minute we put our draft of 42 up there. They say, wait a minute,
Yeah.
what about chapter 2?
That's right. It'll be the eagle-eyed reader that says, you can't do that.
Yep. Okay. Wow.
Good question. Good question, Deb.
So timely. I'm so glad that it was very, very thought-provoking, and allows us to, have we disagreed on anything?
No,
Not really
I didn't
yet.
hear
no conflicts. Oh dear, that's
Not yet.
a boring
Not
story.
yet. Yeah.
Oh, well, now wait a minute. We want conflicts between our characters. We don't want conflicts between the authors.
Well, but we'll have. I'm not. It's not like I love conflict. I'm kind of like congenitally conflict avoidant. But I wouldn't want to be blind to any. I want us to. I want us to be, really free and open with each other as we're doing this. I haven't found that any of us have really drastically different ideas yet. We will get there.
We will. When we
And
start
then
writing, we'll get
then we'll
there.
figure out how do we resolve our conflicts.
I would like for you, Julianne, please, to access. I called myself summarizing your story treatment.
Uh-huh.
And I'd like to know what you think about what I did.
Oh, sure.
Okay, and it's in the shared folder. So please give a look.
Oh, do you want to do that now or offline?
Well, you know, we're 12:35, so I think we're good on time. No?
Well, what about the second question?
Well, but this is part in my mind. This question I'm asking now is part of question 1.
Oh.
Because I want to be sure that I have the story treatment, the thing squared away in my mind. And I just want to make sure that I didn't squunch something up that shouldn't have been squunched.
Squunched. That's a good word.
I was gonna say, we've already gotten to the word inventing, my favorite part.
So, do you know the name of this document?
I think it's agenda.
Oh, it's in the agenda. Okay. Oh, look at you. All right.
It's on page 1
Page 1.
of the agenda. The agenda has 3 pages.
Okay, so here's a summary of Julianne's story treatment.
Right.
Okay. You want me to read it?
Yeah. You can
Real time?
comment. You can comment.
Yeah, sure. Okie dokie. Narrative elements. The story involves a mysterious place with a Lucasa memory board and unexplained reverberations. The protagonist, Jenna, attempts to open a drawer using a sequence of beads. Jenna has a private communication channel with Grandpa. All correct so far? The ancestors.
Complete. Or maybe this is not fair for me to ask you this like this, putting you on the hot seat.
Yeah, let's wait until so how did we have a hint about how Jenna got to go in to try to open that drawer?
Yeah.
Which is that she helped decode the language that is used by these people in this place, because she figured out, oh, those things on the floor, that's a code, and it's a QR code, and she's the one who figured that out. So that's the only thing that's that highlights the fact that things are not what they seem. And so those stones on the floor, they're QR codes. I just think that's funny. All right. So the ancestor, but yeah, that was just one little thing missing. The ancestors' conceptual background, they're a cross-functional group of diverse geniuses from multiple disciplines, united by love for humanity, profound playfulness, and a desire to help mankind reach transcendent potential. You betcha. Don't you love these guys? The world building. So I'm making sure that that none of your summary is going to hedge into any spoilers.
Good. Thank you.
So far, so good.
I don't
The
want to spoil.
concept is set in a future where humans can populate new worlds. Yep. The ancestors create a world as their masterwork. Their primary approach is using play as a method of discovery, and they represent all these different disciplines and probably more, right? So mathematics, physics, music, art, computer science, philosophy, theology, botany, biochemistry, cosmology, and game design. The world design philosophy is that games are their primary art form. World is designed to help humanity discover profound truths through collaborative play. Grandpa is their user experience designer. He specializes in hiding elements in plain sight. and he enjoys creating Easter eggs for players to discover. Yep. And then the narrative approach, the ancestors are portrayed as imperfect human creators. They are deceased by the story's time. The world's design is not explicitly explained, and readers will discover the world's nature through the characters' interactions. You win the big bingo, in my view.
Nailed it.
Okay, good, good. I noodled.
Now, what I'd like to know is, as you were creating that summary, how do you feel about this story?
I'm excited. I just wish I knew more about the mechanics of story writing, storytelling.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Yeah. Oh, good thing we have Victoria amongst us.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm feeling like, we're probably going to need a little bit of an outline,
A zero draft.
some of us.
Working on it. Working on it.
Yay!
Well, yeah, I was going to say that's exactly what we're doing. This is the zero draft process. It's before you know what the story is, and it's before the characters are fully fleshed out. You just start getting a feel for some aspect of the project. It could be a character, it could be the environment and the setting, it could be the main conflict, it could be the lesson you want the reader to walk away with. You have to find something that's not slippery that you can grab onto to anchor you. And that's exactly what we're doing, is we're figuring out what are those anchor points. And there will come a point in this process, sooner rather than later, where all of a sudden things line up in such a way that you go, oh, so we need something here to get us over to here. And that's when the drafting begins. So, I mean, we're exactly where we should be in this process, especially as a collective. As an individual, you kind of start doing that naturally. Like, you sit down and you kind of write out a scene and you think, okay, now maybe a new character shows up and you're like, whoa, where'd you come from? It's organic. But for us, I think this is if there is an easy way or a clear way through, this is the way to do it, which is to keep having these conversations up to the point at which, it's like watching a dachshund race. You line them all up in the line and say go, and they all run off in different directions. We just have to see which dog breaks first and follow that one, and it'll happen. We'll get there. But in the meantime, your extreme plotter is on the case.
Yay! So have you thought about what kind of a story framing mechanism? Do you think it's a traditional Western conflict driven? Do you think it's one of the others that you've been looking at?
I definitely don't think it's going to follow the conflict driven 8 plot points. Number one, because there are 5 of us, that's a harder target to hit, because we all have different ideas of what the conflicts or the challenges might be. So I see, given that we've already agreed that a main through line is humor and fun and a kind of undergirding wisdom, I think that lends itself way more to like a thematic meditation almost. So you're encapsulating these moments of story. Like I said, they're undergirded with a sense of wisdom and progress, and they're peppered with things that are fun and playful, with a little bit of education about the Zettelcast and sprinkled in. And the way that I see it is, it's more of, if you've got conflict and challenge driven plots over here, and you've got meditative, more observational over here, I think we're somewhere here. So, and very much character driven. I don't see this at this point as being driven by dead bodies and bombs blowing up. And, you know, I see this being driven by subtle things. So now we just have to tease out what those are. The puzzles are a great one. I mean, we have a built-in story driver, which is the puzzles and that sense of curiosity and play.
Yeah.
I think that will be the primary driver.
Wow.
I sense that we could highlight individual characters as we reach stumbling blocks along the way. We're bringing along in this group a very diverse group of people. We named out all of those people, and it's going to turn out that they're going to need to be small sub-collaboratives, I believe, of these characters to solve different ones of these puzzles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then just for fun, we're going to Da Vinci code the crap out of the whole world. Just because we're sick that way. But kidding aside, I do very much see a main story driver becoming that kind of racing from this point gets you to this point, and here we learn this, and this takes you to that, and I can see us building the momentum of the story in that way, which I think is really effective and super fun. I think it fits. But without Tom Hanks, because he's creepy.
So I don't know if this has happened for any of you yet. I wouldn't say it has quite happened, but I want us to be on the lookout for when our respective Zettelcastens contribute to the story more than just being our filing systems, right? When there's a suggestion,
Wow.
it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Okay. It's 1:45. So
Yeah.
we're gonna hop into the question number 2 really quick. What do we hope to gain from publishing the story? And I came up with the idea of stimulating Lily Pub's growth, you know, as a go-to writers site, a worthy membership site where you go and you publish your new work. Okay. You socialize, you find collaborative partners, and you learn by participating in exciting experiences. Those are that's what I saw, right? For the why behind it, you know?
Yeah.
And there's also the opportunity to host virtual launch parties.
Awesome.
To do blog posts or interviews with contributors. So again, we're getting the word out about Lily Pub. Online book clubs and a discussion forum with the readers.
You have that. Go join.
Okay. And partnerships with other writing groups, you know, for cross-pollination, you know, kind of thing. So that's what I have.
I love all of that.
Good.
Yeah, that pretty much nails it for me too. I broke it down into, again, fans versus readers, because I'm thinking of our fans are in on the process, and they're in on the process in part because they probably want to write. In fact, if they found us, it's probably from one of our people, one of our websites where this goes on, or else the Zettelcast in itself, which they say is a writing machine. It turns you into a writing machine. So that's the writing focus, I think, on the fans. But that Lily Pub, I think, in the long range vision, and I kind of, as I see it developing through the years, I see it ultimately being almost the majority avid readers who aren't content with taking the book home from Barnes and Nobles and just reading it and then putting it back on their shelves. Readers who want to talk to the author, readers who want to talk to other people who are reading the book, readers who want to dissect it as to the character traits and what motivated this one and that one, where the reading isn't this lonely thing that you just do by yourself, but it's reading is something that you do in community. And not only that, where the readers become the advocates for the books. Ultimately, the pub and Lily Pub is publishing. The goal and the dream of Lily Pub is that we can be a place where people that don't have a giant pre-publication resume and aren't putting out thousands of dollars for an agent and aren't getting themselves caught up in some kind of a scam operation where they're promised the moon if they only pay $5,000 for a seminar and they'll get published. None of that goes on, where Lily Pub is strictly for the benefit of the people and takes nothing for itself other than the dues that it collects to maintain itself, where nobody's buying an airplane or a jet or a yacht from the proceeds. It all goes directly back to the creators, and where the readers can become the champions of the books that they love, where they go to their local small bookstore and say, hey, look, you've got to carry this book. And oh, wouldn't this be great for our book club? Shouldn't we all get this book and read it? So that Lily Pub develops this organic distribution of books out into the community that do not touch the sleeping giant. Has anyone seen the logo for Lily Pub?
Oh, yeah.
Here it is. It's Gulliver. It's from Lilliputian Publishing Co-op. And the picture of it is the giant, like Gulliver's Travels, he's tied down with all of these strings, but the strings are pegs that are on each end, a person is holding it. So we're about connections between individual people. And the giant, of course, are the behemoths that control the publishing world currently. And shh, don't wake the giant. Don't let the giant know what we're up to. Because ultimately, once we've saturated our small local channels, okay, then we'll let the giant take over, and we won't have those remnants where they cross the black line across the top or tear the cover off the paperback book and, throw it to the wolves because they're done with it. No, we'll release it to the giants.
Right.
After we've had the time to distribute it through our markets. Then we'll let our people, take care of their remnants. They'll go to the customers on Amazon and on the big websites. So I just have small things I'm hoping for out of it.
Yikes. Well, I would add to that the kind of the second tier behind why we created it, why we're talking about creating it in the first place, is for those readers who don't want to leave their story world. I've read books that I immediately finished, went back to the beginning and read them again because I didn't want to leave that world. We give people an opportunity to stay in that world, whether it's in the book group, it's with other fans, whatever. You can come here, or even fans of Mel's work, or any of us. They can come and be with us and stay in our world because they love it so much. I mean, I would personally love to live in Mel's desk and just hang out, or
Careful what
down.
you wish for.
Right? Have down with Zeke and just stay in that world, because there are days when there's just no place I'd rather be than just in our little digital world, our little library. It's the best. And I think our people will discover that and will bring their passion for different projects and different authors with them. And I can't wait to see that. It's happening in fits and starts. It's just going to be fun when it really grows. And my hope is that this project will help create that, because we are giving people a way to stay in our world. They can visit the videos, they can visit the community, They can do whatever they want to stay in it, all kinds of ways. What Kathleen said. Yeah. It's going to be awesome.
Mm.
And it's going to be a great experiment. This is, for me personally, this is a literary experiment that this has never been done. I mean, different iterations of it exist, but no one has ever collectively co-written a story using a Zettelcast as a project. I mean, this is fascinating history taking place because it's never been done. I can't wait to see how it turns out. It's gonna be cool.
Mm. Mm.
And Julianne's gonna write
And
the
we've
score.
got each other's backs, right? You know, I think that it's possible for you to kind of, for an author to get their head so far up their own behind that they just are missing it all, right? But the fact that we're here together, I think that if one of us starts to go, you know, all right, you're pulling this in a weird direction. I still got my mind open, but
Yeah.
you gotta pay this off, right?
Right.
Right. It's a supportive part of the process for, you know, like Deb and me, who, I don't know, Deb, have you ever written a novel? I sure haven't.
I'm
Either.
giddy bound so far, you know, giddy bound.
Nice. Nice. That's a new form right there. I love it.
Yeah.
No, we'll find our way. I think more than, you know, okay, hold on there, sis. You're in the weeds. You've gone off the rails. I think our function will be much more, that's a really good idea. Let's go with that. Let's tease that out. You know, I see us as, yes, we will definitely keep the guardrails on each other, but I think the point at which, because writing is such a lonely thing, it's very easy to sit down and it's too slippery or the path isn't clear. And then, you know, that's when all the demons come. We're not going to let that happen. We will make sure that this project gets done and we will help each other along the way, because it's hard. If writing a book were easy, everyone would do it. It's hard. It's freaking hard. So that's one of the main values I think we perform for each other, is just being encouraging that this is a really good idea and it's going to be fun and we're going to get each other through it. You know, not that there won't be some tough love, but I think that's a much more important aspect is, yeah, yes, keeping each other honest, but keeping each other going.
And plus this
Yep.
process and the fact that we're sharing it publicly goes a long way for the know, like, and trust aspect of being online, you know? So I think overall, this is a blessing. 6 ways from Sunday, you know? It's wonderful.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
And allowing, I mean, I watch author interviews and author talks all the time. I'm always, any moment of free time, like if I'm driving to get groceries, I'm listening to authors talk. You know, those are our people. And I want to know how they got that done. You know, curse you, David Foster Wallace, for taking your life, because I want to know how he got that book written, because it's longer than hell. It's 1,100 pages. And there's like 25 storylines that go off in 85 directions, but it all connects up and it works. I want to know how you got that done. So I think that will be one of the fishbowl aspects of this project, is everyone can be sitting outside the fishbowl and watching what it looks like to do this and be encouraged. There's no secret. It's just consistently showing up and tackling the work in such a way that you get to the end of it and look back and go, it's done. We did that.
We did that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And that is the perfect time for my, at least I think so, the perfect time to go over my little ditty from last week from who we are. Who we are. And that's on the last page of the agenda, right? Who we are. And I wanted to make this part of the publication, you know, so that people can know who we are, you know. So that's why I'm reading it here. What should our stories to readers say that represent our sincerity and concern for all things empowering a best to live day that boosts a thirst for knowledge's burn? We want to spread the love of reading, the love of writing, and for thinking, all in a collaborative way for leading to online growth and readers' feedback sinking that successfully sows an increased supply of deep thinking teachers on paper, linking today with tomorrow, yesterday and beyond the sky, indelibly written in language, bold and unshrinking, for the love of humanity and its respect for self that prohibits leaving wisdom unread on a shelf. Yeah.
I want to carve that onto the, you know,
Yeah.
archway over the Lily Pub entrance.
I tell you what, when I get my writers community set up, it will be a plaque dedicated to Deb right out front.
Oh,
Oh, when we build our building, huh?
Yeah.
you got the building. You
Or-
showed the building. You got the building. You just have to buy it.
Yeah,
Right? Yeah. I was gonna say, if I can get UMKC to grant me access to Epperson, I'm so taking over that house. Mark my words.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
I did learn that nobody bid on the restoration, so it's still up for grabs.
Oh,
Oh, Mel.
Now I'm gonna need some major
I
love
need
for
this
this
project.
place.
I'm gonna need some major funds for this project.
That's why I gotta sell some books, man.
Okay, isn't that what Scott Shepherd's promising us?
That's
Yes.
right. Right. I'm on the Scott Shepherd plan for that.
Speaking of Scott Shepherd, so I threw a little shade his way about not grinding his axe,
Yeah.
but I really want to thank him every day for that thing that he continually stresses, which is contribution.
Yeah.
It's not just personal growth, it's contribution. And thinking of this story in this way, it's like, what do we want people to get from it? That is such a source of solace and energy when the demons come.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I have infinite gratitude for Scott Shepherd because I wouldn't know any of you without him. And you folks are one of the greatest blessings in my life. So I have to thank him for that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right. And I'm constantly saying, where have you been all my life? Oh my God, I'm so happy to be here. You know?
It's okay. Scott will get an honorary room in the writer's house. It'll be lime green.
Yes.
I volunteer to be the permanent resident to check in guests and and writing groups when they come for their retreats.
Ooh.
Excellent. Yeah, we're gonna have a house one way or another. I mean, we could use this one. I have a huge ranch, but depending on the time of year, it gets a little dicey with the cattle and whatnot. So.
Wow.
Okay, guys,
Okay,
I
thank you,
have
Deb.
got
So
to jump.
who's hosting next time?
Who's up?
I believe it's back around to my turn at this point.
Okay. All
Awesome.
right.
Okay. This is 104.
Thank you, Deb.
So, oh, I'm so happy I'm so happy. This has been great.
Thank you,
I
Deb.
used to dread Mondays, and now it's my favorite day because of my Monday mornings with you guys. I love it.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you next
Okay.
time.
Bye.